How do you guys deal with the loss of power, if you will, that comes from switching to this side of the table?
I'll just say, I mean, it's probably maybe freshest for me. You know, one thing I've thought about often is, you know, it is a very small world. You know, karma has a very instantaneous effect, and you know, whether you have power or you don't, it's important to keep that in mind, because someday it ultimately shifts, no matter how powerful you are. So I think, you know, treating everybody like a colleague is probably the most important lesson you can take away.
It's interesting. I didn't quite look at it quite that way. I mean, it's crossing the table, because the area that we're talking about is so new, and it is certainly for the near term a more collaborative process with clients and agencies, or the buy side, if you will, to educate on what the proposition is, how it fits into the broader context of where television is going, what the upside is for all parties involved. It isn't down to, you know, buy my program, please, please, please. At least not yet. You know. And we did have a saying, and you're right. You know, it's good to be client, but you know, at the end of the day, everybody has one, including the agency, including the client. You know, they have to show a ability to adapt to an evolving digital world, and this area is going to be one of the big topics of discussion, I think, over the next 12 to 18 months. And you know, maybe you'll even see us on a panel or two or a presentation or two next year at the IAB.
David, for you in particular.
Well, I just want to say one thing. I mean, gee, I don't know if no one's puckered up more than I have. Man, oh man, 30 years of clients at 3 a.m. phone calls. I feel like I've done more than my share of puckering. And so I'm not sure that I really agree with Matt. I think if the advice to any young people is to really think about making friends and being true to yourself on the way up, because you can make a career change. And I guess if you've created a lot of enemies and you've created a lot of not treated people straight, maybe that could come back to haunt you. But I don't miss the agency business at the moment, I'll tell you.
I'll say as well that my relationship to a lot of people changed when I changed my you know, career path. And what I found is that if people like and respect you, and you've always treated them with respect, and they like you, you know, that's the opening. And then they'll sit down and have that conversation with you. It doesn't matter as much what the conversation is, so much as how you build on what you have. For you, David, though, I'm going to go a step further and be a little more personal. You built a measure, probably more than these other two panelists, of almost fame within our industry. You wrote a book. You obviously, you know, I think I've moderated you on about 749 panels at this point, which says something about both of us. And you went to a company that a lot of people hadn't heard of. How much of that was in your head in making a move like this from a high-level position you were in?
You know, it didn't.
High visibility position.
Yeah, it didn't. I'm 52 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years. I graduated from the University of Virginia, and I started in the ad business 60 days after graduation. And I managed, for example, to take 3 months off this summer. I hadn't taken 3 months off in 30 years. I think the second thing I would say about the agency business is it's, you know, all of us that have run big companies, each one of us had a global job. I traveled 1.2 million miles in the last 10 years. I traveled an average of 120,000 to 150,000 miles a year for a decade. What's the circumference of the Earth?
25,000?
24,000 miles. So, you know, John Glenn did 19 orbits. I've done 60, and in the last decade. So, you know, these are great jobs, and you know, they're wonderful things. I'm not complaining, but it was, you know, that wears on you, and I missed a lot of, you know, how many you guys missed some parent-teacher conferences? You know, if you missed some, there's a lot of things.
Discipline meetings.
Yeah, and so I guess the answer to your question was that I felt real good about what I've accomplished. I still feel real good about accomplished. I think I fully intend to make Canoe as famous as anything else I've done before, and I think we can be successful. And you know, I'll be back on top someday, and so I'm willing to take that bet.
So the built-in fan base, that's called.